Vault 440 Audio presents Ash Rats, Stories from the Wasteland, a Fallout audio anthology. Episode 4. Darren, the Opportunist.
I never saw the first fist coming. It caught me clean across the jaw, rattled my teeth hard enough I thought they'd all come loose. Next thing I knew, I was on my back in the dust, a raider on top of me scrabbling like a feral mutt at my arm. His hands weren't after blood, they were clawing for the pit boy strapped to my wrist. Everybody wants it. Everybody thinks they deserve it more than me. We rolled in the dirt, elbows, knees, teeth, all of it. His breath stank like old jet and blood, and the loser nearly pried it loose. My hands found something heavy, cold, ridged with rust. A gear, maybe a wheel, who knows? Big cast iron, heavier than it looked. I swung it up and brought it down on his skull. The sound it made wasn't something I'd care to hear again, wet and final, but at least it got him off me. Dead or just dreaming hard, I didn't stop to check, I didn't care. I was running before my heart caught up, through cracked streets and burnt-out shells of houses, raiders pouring after me like ants from a kicked nest. Their voices carried all curses and threats, promising what they'd do to me. Kill me dead for my pit boy? Bullets cracked against walls, skipping off the pavement, one close enough to clip a strand of my hair. Grenades, too, tossed lazy, like children throwing rocks, rolling blind, bouncing down the street before popping dust and shrapnel into the air. None close enough, not yet. Lexington was a maze of busted roads and collapsed storefronts, but I knew how to slip through the gaps. You keep your head low, you keep moving, and you don't stop to be a hero. A real hero would have stood his ground, fought it out, not me. I ducked under rusted beams, slid through doorways, doubled back through half-collapsed stairwells, until the shouts faded behind me. When I finally climbed a ridge of busted concrete and twisted rebar, I could see the whole mess below. Raiders still running, still shooting, still yelling at ghosts. I let out a laugh then. Couldn't help it. Stupid raiders chasing smoke and shadows while I sat up above, breathing hard but free. They thought they were clever. They thought they'd catch me, but I've still got my pit boy. I'm still alive and well. That's all that matters.
There are a million stories in the wasteland. This is one of them.
My name is Darren, just another ash rat crawling over the bones of the old world. Born out here, raised on scraps, no vault door ever opened for me. Folks like to spit the word like it's an insult, but I'll take it. Rats live, rats survive. You can dress it up in fancier words, but that's all anyone out here is doing, surviving. My way's simple. I take what I can, when I can. People call it stealing, but what's the difference? Men, women, children, old, young, hell, I don't care. If you can't keep hold of your gear, you don't deserve it. Food, ammo, meds, if it's not nailed down and you're not strong enough to protect it, then it's mine. Doesn't mean I hate you, just means you were slower than me. Out here, that's the only rule that matters. I only matter. Every man for himself. Screw your pity. Forget your mercy. I don't have time for that nonsense. That'll get you more dead than a Brahmin at a Raider barbecue. Everybody wants this pit boy. Looks good on my wrist, doesn't it? I wasn't born with it, didn't walk out of a vault shiny and clean. No. I came across some guy who said he was looking for Vault 66. Half-starved, rambling about a paradise. Fresh water, food, enough sugar bombs, cereal to last a lifetime, a place the bombs missed. He said the coordinates were locked in his pit boy. He looked at me like I was his lifeline, begged me for help. I let him talk, nodded like I cared. Why wouldn't I? Easy to play along. But the bottom line was, I wanted that pit boy for myself. I was gonna just shoot him, but I thought it would be way more fun to lure him to a ghoul's nest and let them tear him apart. And that's what I did. Pretty ingenious, I'd say. While he screamed and fought and begged, I slipped the pit boy off his wrist. Didn't make him die any faster, didn't make him die any slower. Just made sure his death meant something useful for me. Now it's mine. And if that paradise is real, I'll find it. Not because I earned it. Whatever. I deserve it. Because I was smart enough to take it. That's the wasteland for you. The bold walk away, the rest get buried. The road stretched out like it always does. Cracked blacktop, weeds fighting through the splits, rusted husks of cars leaning in on each other like drunkards too tired to stand. I fiddled with the Pip-Boy as I walked, thumbing through menus, half the screens not making sense, the rest blinking like they were laughing at me. Still, I kept at it. Supposedly this was the golden ticket. Coordinates to a paradise, all wrapped up in blinking green. Hours slipped by with nothing but dust in my throat and the crunch of gravel under my boots. Then there it was. Vault 66, marked clean on the map. It was probably another 8 or 9 miles away, but finally something real in all the ruins. As I rounded the corner, I saw a sad-looking shack. A couple of crusty old people bent over a little patch of earth pretending it was a farm. Looked like they'd been fighting weeds longer than I'd been alive. Barely enough crops to keep a mole rat fed, but they worked like it mattered. Watching them struggle was almost funny. 2 skeletons in rags breaking their backs for scraps. What a waste. I thought about walking on. I thought, why bother? But then I realized, this is easy pickings. Caps, food, anything worth carrying, they'd have it tucked away inside. So I waited. I sat out by the road, gnawed on some stale jerky, and let the sun dip low. When night fell, I slipped quiet as I could through their door. But I didn't really worry myself. I mean, what are they gonna do? Inside smelled of mildew and boiled roots. Total dump. I found a few cap, some canned beans, a stash of ammo they probably thought was hidden well, even took a bundle of dried corn. Looked like it was meant for seed. Not my problem. The old man woke while I was stuffing my pack. He just lay there in his cot, eyes wide, staring at me like he couldn't believe it. It's like he wanted to ask why. Why what? Why take from 2 tired ghosts who barely had enough to keep breathing? I shrugged at him, said, "Tough luck, old man," and walked out with my haul. By the time I found a spot to hole up, the night was heavy. It was windy. I picked the top floor of some half-collapsed office building, it high enough to see the wasteland, and I was able to find a corner with no direct line of sight. Safe enough. I lay back, chewing a strip of corn like it was jerky, listening to the night. Gunfire echoed faint in the distance, long bursts, shouts carried on the wind, then silence. It was probably some caravan getting jumped, no doubt. They thought strength in numbers meant something. Probably deserved it. Out here, everyone does. Morning came hard and thin, like someone scraping sunlight off aluminum. I woke with the weight of the Pip-Boy against my forearm and the taste of old corn in my mouth. I'm already thinking about the map. Last night's promise sat heavy in my head. Vault 66, stamped neat and clean in green. I ran that memory through like a record skipping. The old guy's voice, half prayer, half drunk, cataloging a life I'd never seen. Endless supplies stacked like a mountain. A pool that wasn't a puddle. Lights that didn't flicker. Warm showers, clean clothes. He said it like it was a sermon and the Pip-Boy was the scripture. I didn't have the luxury vocabulary for that stuff. Baths and porcelain, running water that didn't taste like rust, those were vault fantasies, not ash rat life. My life was nails and dust, pockets and quick hands, but the idea lodged in me like a splinter. No more scavenging the same cans, no more swearing at broken pumps, worth finding, worth stealing for. By mid-morning, the road was alive with the small commerce that counts for a living out here. A trader rolled past with a rickety wheel cart, 2 squeaky wheels and a box of things people pretend they need. Bottled water and chip jars, a coat with a missing sleeve, a handful of trinkets that looked fine until you tried to use them. He pushed the cart slow, singing to himself like the world hadn't chewed him up. I walked up like I was being neighborly, leaning over his wares, making the little noises that get traders talking. Most of it was junk, worthless metal, cracked pre-war toys, a watch with no hands. He offered me a trade, the way they all do. A cap for a trinket, a favor for a favor. I smiled at him, the way a snake smiles, and told myself I was doing what I had to do. It's not like I enjoyed it. Well, to be honest, sometimes I do. I just knew the ratio of risk to profit, and this was low risk, high reward. One quick sucker punch to the jaw, and the traitor crumpled like he believed in gravity harder than he believed in himself. No theatrics, no mercy speech. I rifled through his pouch, being quick and keeping an eye out. I found some caps and a bunch of other worthless crap. I took it anyways, stuffed it into my shirt, and then dragged him into the shadow of his cart, just in case some scavenger passes by and starts asking questions. Then I'd have to drop them too. It gets tiring sometimes. Walking away, I told myself the same things I always do. He'll wake up, he'll curse, he'll survive. Or maybe he won't. Either way, the caps are mine and they buy time. Right now, I'm focused on following a map to a hole in the ground that promises warm light and full racks. The road didn't care about ethics, only footsteps. The road had gone quiet. Too quiet, that's what I thought anyway, because I followed the Pip Boy's little glowing arrow deeper into nowhere. The sun was sinking, shadows long, the kind of time where scavers and killers come crawling out, sniffing for easy prey. I spotted him late, a figure up the road leaning on a busted signpost like he owned the place. Not raider gear, no spiked armor or spray paint, just patched leather, a mean grin, and eyes that followed me like a man measuring what he was about to buy.
You must be pretty strong to make it here.
Rough type, same as me, only he was looking at my wrist like it was a sack of gold.
That a Pip Boy?
We passed close, too close. I cursed myself for even being in this position. I felt the tension string between us, waiting to snap.
Ah!
Sure enough, he lunged faster than I gave him credit for. He attacked me with a quick barrage of punches. Wild, ferocious. Before I knew it, we were rolling in the dust. His hands were on the Pip Boy, wrenching at the straps, snarling without words. I swung wild, caught him in the ribs, got a knee in his gut, but he fought like a man starving. Next thing I knew, the weight on my wrist was gone, just like that. He tore it free, scrambled to his feet, and bolted, clutching it like a prize. My gut dropped cold. It wasn't about the coordinates. Not in that second. It was about losing, about being bested. I can live without 100 things, but not without that, not without the edge. I ran, legs pumping, lungs screaming, boots pounding on broken asphalt. He had a head start, but desperation gives speed. He darted through rocks and brush, fast but sloppy, glancing back too often, stumbling. Desperation made him clumsy. The ground sloped hard ahead. I knew where this led before he did, a jagged cliff that fell away into nothing but air and a mess of boulders far below. He skidded to the edge, gravel spilling under his boots. He slipped, screamed, and managed to grab the ledge with both hands, legs kicking over open space. He did the usual pathetic pleas for help.
I don't want to die.
I walked up slow, chest heaving, and crouched down beside him. The Pip Boy clung to his arm like it had been made for him, except it wasn't. It was mine. It always had been. I pried it off his wrist, ignoring his panicked babbling.
Hey!
The device felt right sliding back onto my arm, locking into place with a satisfying click. I leaned close, met his terrified eyes, and let a smile curl across my face. His mouth opened to beg again, but I was done listening.
What do you think you're doing?
I set my boot against his face and shoved. His scream echoed off the rocks as he pinwheeled down into the gorge. Then silence. A dull crack drifted up a moment later, carried by the wind. I glanced at my arm, flexed my fingers, watching the Pip Boy's screen glow to life again, like it had never left me, like it belonged right where it was. Then I realized I should have checked his pockets before kicking him off. Oh well, probably didn't have anything worth my time. And with that, I turned and kept moving. Pip Boy's signal blinked steady on the screen. Right here. I turned in a slow circle, scanning the wasteland around me, just cracked stone, scrub brush, and the same dead earth I'd been walking for days. Nothing that screamed vault, but the device didn't lie. I was standing right on it. Then I noticed a wall of brush at the base of a ridge, thick with vines and thorns, like nature had been trying real hard to bury something. I pushed closer, yanking at the tangled green until a sheet of it tore loose. Behind it, darkness gaped back at me. A cave, hidden all this time. I grinned, must be it. Cautiously, I ducked inside, and the air shifted immediately. It was cool, damp, carrying that mineral tang of underground places. The cave swallowed the light quick. A few steps in, and the world behind me was already gone, replaced by the wet echo of my boots and the slow drip of water somewhere deeper in. It didn't take long before I started seeing it, the bones of something old. Rusted scaffolding bolted into the stone walls, sections of corroded metal track half buried in mud, a collapsed generator housing its casing eaten through and flaking like dead skin, pre-war stamping still barely visible under the rot. They hadn't just found this cave, they'd built in it. There were old cable spools, long since unraveled and fused to the floor by mineral deposits. A crushed hard hat sat near a rock pile, its lamps smashed, logo faded almost to nothing. I crouched near a heap of oxidized tools, wrenches, rebar ties, chunks of drilling equipment, all frozen in the same position they'd been left. No signs anyone had scavenged the metal, no stripped parts. It looked like the work crews had walked away one day and never come back. Or maybe they were told not to. The deeper I went, the more deliberate it felt. Blast marks smoothed over. Sections of wall unnaturally squared off where nature didn't belong. They hadn't just carved out space for a vault door, they'd hollowed this place out like a rib cage. That's when I knew whatever was ahead wasn't some forgotten bunker someone had tripped over. This was planned. I flicked on the Pip-Boy's lamp, its pale beam carving through the black. The tunnel sloped down, winding even deeper. My boots crunched on gravel, then echoed against smooth stone. Soon it opened into a large cavern where a narrow catwalk stretched out over a rushing river. The water surged black below, fed by a small waterfall that hissed and frothed at the far wall. Mist clung to my face as I crossed, with the sound of the falls thundering through the chamber. Cables clung to the walls in thick bundles, rusted and chewed by time, disappearing into the rock like veins feeding a buried heart. The deeper I went, the louder that faint mechanical hum became, like something sleeping far beneath. And then the tunnel ended, and there it was. A vault door. It was bigger than I imagined. A steel disc, 25, maybe 30 feet across, pressed into the earth like the world's biggest lock. Paint had long since peeled, but the number at its center still glared out in faded yellow. Vault 66. I just stood there, staring. The Pip-Boy's glow washed over the controls at my wrist, as if it was urging me forward. This was it. At the edge of the catwalk was the control panel. It was blinking, still alive, still waiting. The only thing between me and the vault door ahead was empty space. Just a suspended bridge ending at a console jutting out like an altar. The panel looked ancient, all cracked plastic and flaking paint, but the lettering was still clear enough to read. Prime Magneto, Coupler, Pip-Boy Remote Link. That last one made me smirk. Jackpot. I glanced down at the device strapped to my wrist, running my fingers along its edges. Sure enough, hidden in a groove along the side was a coiled cable with a fat connector head. I tugged it free, the line extending just long enough to reach the console. The plug fit snug into the input port with a satisfying click. The machine came alive under my hand. A panel hissed as a plastic cover popped open, revealing one single red button. For a second, I just stared at it, heart thumping. After everything, all the hassle and the people, it had come down to this, a button. I curled my hand into a fist, then pressed my palm flat against it. Time to cash in.
Vault door cycling sequence initiated.
The locks disengaged one by one, heavy bolts sliding free, with a sound like the world cracking open. The big center gear turned with a groan that echoed through the cavern. Dust rained from the ceiling as the colossal wheel rolled back, revealing the way in. Air hissed out at me, stale but clean in a way the wastes never were. Then a catwalk extended, metal teeth unfolding until it bridged the gap. It was absurdly theatrical. like a stage being set. I stepped forward, boots clanging against steel, arms out just a little. Couldn't help it. After years of scrounging in the dirt, I finally had it. A kingdom. Inside, the receiving chamber gleamed. White lights hummed overhead. Steady, no flicker. Concrete walls, smooth and unbroken. No rust, no filth, untouched. Behind me, the vault door rumbled shut, bolts locking back into place. Sealed. All mine. For a long moment, I just stood there, staring into black. The only light came from a single lamp hanging above a pair of elevator doors, like it had been waiting for me. Everything else was swallowed by shadow. No voices, no movement. Just that circle of light drawing me in. The doors in front of me slid open, revealing an elevator that looked like it belonged in some pre-war luxury tower. Brass trim, polished walls. The control panel gleamed like it had just been cleaned. Atrium, residential, security, maintenance. I ran my hand over the button, smiled, and selected Atrium. The doors closed and the elevator hummed, carrying me down into the heart of paradise. The elevator glided to a stop so smooth I almost didn't notice. Then the doors parted, and for a second, I thought I died on the ride down. Light poured in, warm, golden. Not the sickly glow of a rad storm or the buzzing of half-dead fluorescence, but something that felt real. Sunshine in a place the sun had never touched. I stepped out, blinking hard, my boots sinking into carpet. Clean, soft, not some shredded pre-war scrap I'd pulled from a ruin. Real. The air hit me next, crisp, cool, sweet, like I'd stepped into another world. And then I saw it. The atrium stretched wide and high, tier after tier circling the space. Railings gleamed like polished chrome. Rooms lined the top level, doors and windows neat, orderly, untouched. But it was what stood in the center that stopped me cold. A tree. Not some dead husk clinging to life in the wastes, but a living giant, its branches clawing upward, leaves thick and green. The trunk went down 4 levels, roots swallowed by a bed of earth so lush it almost hurt to look at. Grass. Living grass. Like the kind I'd only ever seen in tattered old books. For a moment I couldn't breathe. Me, an ash rat from the wastes, raised on rot and ruin, standing here with this paradise stretching beneath me. The ceiling above was a dome of light panels, blazing bright enough to mimic the sun. Shadows danced across the tree as if it were noon on a summer day. I tilted my face up into it, let the warmth soak into my skin. The place was empty, silent. No chatter, no footsteps, no guards, just me. Better that way. Who needs people?
Welcome to Vault 66.
I jumped. A voice floated through the atrium before I even saw her. It was soft, calm, almost musical, welcoming me like I'd been expected for decades. I froze for a second, listening. Someone actually alive in this place? I let the words wash over me, nodding along, though my mind was already scanning the space, the tree, the levels, the spotless floors, the light that felt like sunlight. Didn't matter who was talking. Maybe it was some robotic greeter, nothing to worry about. Then, a massive side door slid open and a figure appeared. She stepped forward and into the light.
Hello.
She was in her mid-30s, shoulder-length brown hair, blue vault suit still bright against the yellow stripes, average build, plain but attractive, eyes clear, dark, and a little haunted like she hadn't seen anyone else in years. And she looked at me, really looked like she couldn't quite believe I was real. Then, out of nowhere, she said something about my eyes. Wonderful, striking, whatever. I was more interested in the lights, the tree, the levels, the pools, the garden, not some pickup line. All this was mine. At this point, people were background noise. She moved with this stiff kind of grace and greeted me with a smile.
Welcome to Vault 66. My name is Abigail, the Overseer.
Over what? I nodded like I cared, but I was more interested in taking in everything. As she guided me down a corridor, I asked the question that had been clawing at the back of my head since the elevator doors first opened. Where the hell was everyone? A place this clean, this stocked, this untouched. There should have been voices echoing off the walls, lines in the cafeteria. She gave me her answer, calm as if she'd rehearsed it 1,000 times.
The others aren't gone. They're all sleeping.
A system of cryo-rotation, she called it. One of Vault-Tech's clever ideas to stretch supplies and manpower across decades. Only a handful were ever awake at a time, caretakers, while the rest stayed frozen, waiting for the outside to finally become livable again. Right now, she was the one on duty. In 5 years, some other sucker would thaw out and take her place.
All the upkeep and daily duties is mostly handled by the machines.
I noticed them then. Mr. Handy models gliding silently along their way, arms whirring. One was dusting railings with its 3-pronged claws, another hovering near the garden's edge, trimming leaves with precise, surgical movements. 5 years of my own personal servants? Now that's what I'm talking about. She even mentioned that since I was new, I could be added into the rotation, spend my 5 years here, get used to the vault, and when my turn came up, I'd have the choice, join the program or walk away. Like it was some kind of offer, some neat little package wrapped up just for me.
The choice would be up to you.
Screw that. For once, the world had dealt me the good hand. They could keep their frozen little dreams. I had the winning draw. I'll deal with that when the time comes. She led me along and I followed, eyes greedy, drinking in every detail. First stop was the cafeteria. Tables in perfect rows, metal gleaming like they'd been scrubbed every morning. Counters lined with trays, machines humming quietly in the back like they'd been waiting 2 centuries just for me. Endless food. I caught a whiff of something. A robot was already clanking around the burners like my arrival had flipped some invisible switch. It smelled amazing.
We are now entering the recreation area.
She guided me further through the atrium.
We have all kinds of activities for our employees.
The recreation area nearly stopped me in my tracks. Lights everywhere, brand new pool tables, arcade machines chirping and blinking like they were happy to see someone, and even a full 2-lane bowling alley. I've never seen anything like this, like new. I only know stuff like that out in the wasteland, smashed, rusted, or rotting away. I couldn't wait to try all of this. She led me down another hallway lined with bamboo walls, tiki torches on either side. It was amazing, neon lights glowing overhead, spelling out pool, like some old pre-war resort.
In here is our swimming area, complete with all the amenities, of course.
A swimming pool, deep blue water shimmering under the glow of lights that mimicked a perfect summer sky. A small waterfall spilled from a sculpted rock wall at the far end, sending ripples across the surface. Fake palm trees flanked the edges, their plastic fronds swaying gently in the recycled air. I took it all in. Lawn chairs circled the pool. There was even a small breeze coming from these big wall fans. It was damn nice. That's when I noticed the cooler in the corner, parked near the changing rooms and showers. Bright red, stamped with the logo I'd seen painted on every ruin in the Commonwealth, Nuka-Cola. I flipped it open and grinned at the sight of rows of bottles, labels intact, the glass cold against my hand. I cracked one open, the hiss sharp and satisfying. I took a long pull. It was sweet and fizzy, nothing like the flat, rad soaked stuff you find laying around. Like this was pure. I flicked the cap over my shoulder. For once, I didn't bother to pocket it. Caps meant nothing here. This place wasn't just shelter, it was mine. Upstairs was a full nightclub, the Lava Lounge, complete with a full bar. A Mr. Handy drifted behind it, its claws polishing glasses, a jaunty towel draped across one arm, as if it had been built for the role of bartender.
My mixed drinks are top-notch, if I do say so myself. I'll surprise you with something. What do you say?
I told him definitely later. Then came the garden. I thought the big tree in the atrium was a miracle, but here were rows of vegetables, leafy and green under grow lights that hummed like tame lightning. Tomatoes, carrots, potatoes, all the things I'd stolen scraps of in the wastes, here laid out like tribute. My stomach twisted, half hunger, half disbelief.
We're completely self-sufficient here. Everything planned out.
She kept the tour going, her voice steady, almost rehearsed, like she'd been waiting years to recite this script for somebody. We passed a wide set of double doors and I peeked inside. A theater, seats lined in neat rows, a screen bigger than anything I'd ever seen in the wasteland. Posters framed the walls, color still sharp, not sun-bleached scraps like I was used to. One of them caught my eye right away. Monster Factory. I'd seen that title plenty of times out in the wasteland, shredded posters peeling off brick walls, torn covers and trash heaps. Always just scraps like a joke the world dangled but never paid off, and now here it was, plastered bright and bold, promising the real thing. For the first time, I realized I could actually watch it, see the whole damn movie the way people used to. A whole story on a screen, not just scraps and shadows. Abigail kept babbling. At this point, I let her keep talking. Didn't matter what she said. I'd already decided what mattered. She showed me the gym, machines gleaming like they'd never seen a day's rust. Beyond that, shops, actual shops, lined the halls. A barber shop, a hardware store, a coffee shop, even a Slocum Joe's donut shop, a tailor station, a clothing boutique with mannequins. I shook my head. The library was impossible to ignore, though. It had rows of shelves stretched floor to ceiling, stuffed with pre-war books and terminals glowing faintly, waiting. All that knowledge just sitting there, more than I'd ever seen in my life. It was cool, but what good was it now? We passed another doorway, this one sealed tight with warning placards still bright on its steel face. She mentioned it casually as we walked by. Off limits for now, nothing to concern myself with. I didn't press. Whatever. Then came the generators. Just a glance through an open bulkhead, but enough to see the stacked rows of them, humming and alive, bathing the room in a low vibration that crawled up through my boots. Hell, the vault had enough juice to outlast the world itself.
And this is our residential wing.
Finally, it was a long hallway with a line of doors on either side, bright and spotless. Vacant, she explained, reserved for future families, for people yet to come, but for now, mine to choose from.
Each home comes with all the amenities, of course, including your very own domestic robot.
Her voice took on that same polished tone I'd noticed before. It was smooth and practiced, almost like a pre-war commercial running through its bullet points. It kind of gave me synth vibes. It didn't bother me, though. Never had any issue with synths like most people did. I figured anyone who could hold a gun, pour a drink, or have stuff to steal was worth the space they took up. Flesh or circuit didn't make much difference to me. For the first time in my life, I almost laughed at how easy it all was. Living quarters, my own room, 4 walls, a bed, my own robot slave, all of this, and I didn't have to fight for it. Killing that guy with the Pip-Boy was the best thing that ever happened to me. The first month slid by like a dream. I barely recognized myself half the time. Gone was the road-worn drifter, sleeping with one eye open, living on jerky and dirty water. In this place, I was a bathrobe-wearing lounge rat.
Ah, good morning, sir. Your coffee brewed to perfection.
I wandered the halls in slippers, looking for my next distraction. Every morning started with a long, steaming shower, long enough to wash off years of dust I didn't even realize was still clinging to me. Hot water that never ran out, soap that smelled like something fancy, and towels softer than anything I'd felt outside. Afterwards, I'd shuffle over the lava lounge and order a drink from the Mr. Handy just to watch him mix it.
One of the joys of top-shelf taste receptors is getting the flavor without the hangover. Alcohol.
Half the time I didn't even know what I was drinking. Bright colors, umbrellas sticking out, ice clinking in the glass. But I drank them anyway. The first sip always burned in some strange way, but the buzz that followed, yeah, I could get used to that.
I sometimes wonder what it'd be like to get rightfully pissed.
Then I'd make my way down to the pool, balancing a couple atomic martinis in my hands. Afternoons were for lounging by the pool, under fake palm trees, basking under artificial sunlight. Some days I hit the gym, other days the sauna, but most of the time I just wandered around seeing what else the place had to offer. I found the movie theater and must have watched Monster Factory at least a dozen times. Each time I rewatched it, it would hit me the same way. It wasn't about the movie itself, it was about finally experiencing what I'd only ever seen plastered on a half-rotted poster out in the wastes. The overseer kept pointing me toward educational resources like the library, rows and rows of pristine books, terminals humming with pre-war archives, but honestly, didn't care. I skimmed more comic books than history files. One day I stumbled onto the armory, sealed tight behind heavy security doors, but I noticed the adjoining range wasn't locked. The overseer, after some convincing, let me try it out. Just target practice, she said. Nothing more. Fine by me.
Okay, I think that's enough.
Always ruining the fun. I'm not surprised. The familiar smell of gunpowder in the air reminded me of the outside world. But in here, it was safe, controlled. No raiders shooting back, no stakes. Just the sound of lead on steel and the clean satisfaction of hitting dead center. A few doors stayed locked no matter what, and for a while I didn't push it. Why bother? I had food whenever I wanted, robots to clean up after me, a bar that never ran dry, and more entertainment than I knew what to do with. For the first time in my life, I felt like I had it all. It wasn't all drinks by the pool and movies on repeat. Some days when I wandered the atrium, I'd catch her up there in that circular office window above everything, just standing, watching. No clipboard, no papers, no real reason I could see, just her eyes on me. Felt like being sized up, weighed against some measure I didn't understand. Maybe it was her job, keeping track of me, but it still crawled under my skin. Other times I'd spot her down in the atrium, fiddling with some terminal, tending to plants, or even sweeping along the railings like a janitor, overseer and groundskeeper both. I never offered to help. Why would I? That was her world, her responsibility. Mine was to enjoy the fruits of it. She could run around maintaining her precious vault. I wasn't about to break a sweat when I had robots to do everything for me. But the more I saw her, the way her voice always carried that scripted tone, the way she drifted between roles like she didn't even notice, the more I started to think. This vault didn't need her. It ran fine without her. Hell, it was the robots keeping the lights on, the generators humming, the cocktails cold, not her. The thought crept in slowly, but once it was there, it stuck. What if she wasn't around anymore? What if it was just me, the machines, and the vault? 5 years from now, when the cryo rotation came due, I could handle the next poor bastard who showed up, one problem at a time. Until then, I could almost convince myself it was perfect. Almost. I pictured it clean, no screaming, no stain on the carpets, just the slow, quiet absence of the one person who made me feel like I was under a microscope. I pictured walking past that round office window with the world finally mine. But murder is messy, and I'm not some two-bit raider who thinks clumsy violence is a plan. If I was going to make someone disappear, I needed a way that left me everything intact. The lights, the bots, the pool, the Nuka-Colas. I wanted the vault without the bother. So I do it the smart way. The Mr. Handys were the key. Literally. I watched them like a man watches a cook he's trying to steal from. They opened doors, they mated with panels, they carried access where my hands wouldn't get a look. Looked like some kind of rod on one of their arms that extends out. An authorizer, a key of some kind. I did start following one of the janitorial robots, acting like I was just out for a walk, real casual, hands in pockets. I watched how it went about its routine, opening service doors I couldn't touch. All it did is slide that little rod into a port, twist it clockwise, and just like that, the door opens, easy peasy. If I could get one of those, I would rule the vault. I could have access to anything. At this point, night was my friend. The artificial sun dimmed and the atrium filled with shadows that hid more than my skin. I timed the robotic rounds, learned when the bartender went into low power and when the cobbler retired to its charging dock. When the moment came, I didn't make a theater of it. I wanted results. So I waited until the atrium hummed low and the Mr. Handys had slowed into their charging docks, all metal bellies and blinking sleep lights. One of them idled a little farther off, cleaning between the rails like it always did. I came up behind it with a wrench, because blunt things are the currency of quiet jobs. The handy didn't go down easy. It twisted, servos whined. I grabbed at an arm, trying to pin it long enough to find the kill switch. It fought like a stubborn animal, all jerks and whining gears. But I kept at it, fingers searching, palms raw, until My thumb found a recessed button behind a service flap.
What?
I mashed it.
I'm dying.
The handy shuddered, twitched once, and then went perfectly, utterly still. The clatter rang louder than I wanted, metal on metal, a curse I couldn't swallow, and I shoved the handy's bulk behind a concrete pillar, flattening myself against the cool stone. From the atrium, the round window lit up and the overseer's silhouette slid into view. I froze. I held my breath, heart thudding, until she angled away and the glass went dark again. The handy's arm was where the good stuff was, bolted on the side. A service coupler, long and boxy, maybe 10 inches long. It took a little muscle and a wrench to free it. One hard twist, a shower of sparks, and it came loose, cables dangling like veins. Now I had a key. This coupler should get me access. I stood still listening to the silence. No whining alarms, no one coming. I didn't leave the body where it fell, that's too obvious. I hauled it under the nearest stairwell, wedging it into a service duct that yawned like a mouth. I tore the access screen off and shoved the dead handy inside like a sack of trash. I then snapped the panel back on, snug, nothing out of place. A neat, ugly little burial. If anyone came looking, they'd see a tidy access panel and not a dead robot hiding in the dark. The coupler pulsed a faint green on the end. It still had juice, just not for long. I slung the coupler into my jacket and took it back to my quarters. I needed a power source to keep it alive so I could use it. I stripped a battery pack from my lamp, wrapped the wires bare, jammed them into the feed socket till the indicator went steady again. Good enough. It wasn't elegant, but nothing I ever touched was. The next day, I made sure to play it cool. Spent half of it drifting in the pool, like I didn't have a care in the world. I hit the bowling lanes for a few frames, ate something that looked like steak, and probably wasn't. Every now and then I'd catch her shape up in that round window watching, pretending she wasn't. Let her watch. Pretty soon I'll be the one looking down out of that window. Later I found the rec room and decided to teach one of the handy units how to shoot pool. Thought it'd be a laugh. It held the cue like a broom and scratched on half the shots, but it tried.
Ah, yes, miss.
Halfway through the lesson, the overseer passed the doorway. She stopped, came back, and just stood there watching us. Me and the bot, like some kind of pre-war comedy act.
That's a good start.
Didn't say a word, just stared until I pretended not to notice.
Ah, yes.
Then she moved on. The handy got better, though, way too fast. After beating me blind several times, the robot started chirping.
Ha! I've seen toddlers with finer form than that.
I haven't touched a pool cue since.
Leaving? So soon? Was it something I said? Not very sporting of you.
When the lights dimmed and the hum of the vault settled into its fake sleep, I slipped out again. Quiet, careful, the stolen coupler tucked under my arm. Time to see what the locked doors were hiding. A handy robot passed by, nearly scared the pants off me. I ducked behind a pillar. The handy passed and just kept on its way. I stood there a minute, listening. Nothing but the hum of the vault and the soft whine of distant servos. The coast was clear. Time to push my luck. The first locked door I picked looked promising. Plain metal, no label, just enough dust on the panel to say it hadn't seen company in a while. I pulled the coupler from under my arm, slotted it into the port and twisted. Nothing. Tried again, slower this time, till I heard a low click and the hydraulics hissed to life. Warm air spilled out thick and dry, smelling faintly of oil and scorched metal. Inside was noise, steady, deep, mechanical. Rows of squat generators hummed along the wall, their surfaces sweating with condensation. Pipes ran everywhere like veins, all feeding toward a huge furnace the size of a train car. Heat rolling off it in slow waves. A garbage incinerator maybe, or something worse? Didn't matter. I clocked it right away for what it could be. Efficient, clean. If I ever had a body to lose, this would do the trick. I took a slow walk around the perimeter. Light from my Pip-Boy crawling over the ducts and warning placards. Nothing but machines keeping the vault breathing. But I wasn't after air systems or power cores. I was after the cryo room. The pods. Whatever was left of that rotation she wouldn't shut up about. One door at a time. On my way back toward the corridor, I spotted another door a few meters down, smaller, with cryo storage stamped above it. The coupler fought me again, jittering in my hand till it finally chirped and turned green. The hydraulics hissed open, spilling out cold air that smelled sterile and sharp. Rows of pods lined the room, perfect and still. The lights inside them pulsed blue, steady, breathing almost. I stepped closer. Each pod had a nameplate. Some I recognized from the Vault's directory, the same people I thought were rotated back into cryo. A few of the pods flickered. One had frost curling up the inside of the glass. Another was dark. I tried to wipe the window clean, but the glass was too cold. My hand left fog instead. I could just make out a shape inside, tubes running from their skin. For a second, I almost knocked on the glass. Then I thought better of it. There was a door tucked off to the side I hadn't noticed before, half hidden behind a tangle of cables. The label read, Research Office B2. Of course, I'm going in. Inside was quiet, except for the soft tick of an old wall clock that somehow still worked. Desks lined the room, clean, papers stacked neat, like someone just stepped out for a meeting and never came back. A coffee mug sat half full, fossilized. I found a terminal still humming, faint green glow bleeding into the dark. I brushed the dust off and tapped a key. It came to life, revealing an access screen, a login page, the name and password already filled in, blinking. The name read, Dr. Lenny Corver, Chief of Applied Sciences. The name didn't ring a bell, but it felt official enough. The log scrolled easy, most of them old, predating the rotation program by years. I was interested in his audio log, so I accessed his last few entries.
Log entry 145-F. Overseer requested additional testing on subject resilience post-cycle. Claims it's for future occupational readiness. No formal directive from Vault-Tec main office. Logged my objection. Log entry 158-D. Maintenance reports multiple pod failures in rotation block C. Overseer insists they were reallocation accidents. The phrasing doesn't sit right. Requested audit, denied. Log entry 161-A. Power fluctuations isolated to cryo wing. Temperature variance may compromise subject safety. Overseer says to leave systems untouched. Log entry 162, unsent. Something's off. These rotations are not random. What are you doing? Wait, no!
He didn't even finish his sentence. It just stops there. The mystery continues. I just stared at that last one for a while, the cursor blinking like it wanted to say something else. When I backed out, I saw the timestamp 3 years ago. No sign of him anywhere, not in the cryo logs I'd skimmed, not in the resident list on my Pip-Boy. Maybe he's one of the shapes behind the frosted glass in the cryo chamber. I shut the terminal, pocketed one of the holotapes labeled System Backup, and slipped out. On the way back through the main corridor, I saw her, the Overseer, standing behind that big circular window above the atrium again. Just a silhouette, head tilted, like she could see straight through me. I froze, counted to 10, and kept walking. I didn't sleep that night, couldn't. The cryopods, the empty office, the last blinking line from Corver's terminal, it all buzzed behind my eyes. I had to know more. The next night I headed back to Corver's office. I scoured his terminal again and found more stuff. There were entries called Subject Control/51. There we go. It wanted a password. Of course it did. I leaned back in the chair, rubbed my eyes, tried to think. The place was a shrine to a guy who liked his trinkets. Model rockets, bobbleheads, stacks of science journals that made no sense to me. Too much crap to search through right now. Then I saw the picture frames lined up on the shelf. Little personal touch, him shaking hands with the Overseer, another of him standing in front of a cryopod like he'd invented the damn thing. I'd found plenty of fools who hid keys and caps behind stuff like that out in the wasteland. No reason scientists would be any smarter. I pulled one down, flipped it over, nothing. Tried another, nothing. Third one had a scrap of tape stuck to the back. Handwritten note, smudged but readable, trust no overseer. That had to be it. I went back to the desk, typed it in, and the terminal clicked over, green text rolling down the screen. Folder unlocked. I leaned forward as the first line blinked up. Project Room 51, active. Personnel status redacted. I hesitated, hand on the keys. For a second, I imagined her stepping through the door, catching me mid-tap, but she didn't. I pressed in. I skipped to the last entries and started skimming through them. The logs were detailed, clinical, precise, almost proud. Log 301, subjects 12 to 48, rotation completed successfully. Behavioral compliance within expected parameters. Pod malfunction accounted for, no intervention necessary. Log 305, subject 53 showed extreme resistance. Cryo rotation prolonged. Psychological stimuli applied as per experimental protocol. Log 309, mortality rate rising, but within tolerances. Reassignment schedules accelerated. Observed distress not relevant to program goals. What the hell? Log 317, compliance reinforced via sensory and pharmacological conditioning. All current subjects accounted for. New subjects to replace attrition acquired from rotation pool. I sat back, reading, letting it sink in. Deaths disguised as maintenance, pain hidden behind cold science. All the cryo people, guinea pigs. All those pods, not preservation, not safety. I swallowed hard. Something clicked. The faint unease I'd felt, the suspicions, the little things that didn't add up, they were deliberate, and the overseer had been orchestrating it all. There were more entries beyond this, a whole hidden section locked tight. I couldn't get in, couldn't crack it, but the headers alone made my stomach turn. Room 51 experiments, subject mortality data, procedural overrides. Man, this lady is all kinds of crazy. She's got to go. She was clever, patient, but she was mine now. I wasn't about to be one of her statistics. Room 51, that's where this all led. The logs hinted at a section deeper in the vault, sealed, top secret, where the rotations ended, where the real experiments happened. I'd been careful so far, but she was probably onto me by now, or at least suspicious. I needed to be faster, smarter. I need to speed up my plans, but she has to go. I headed back to my quarters, cutting through the atrium, and I could see her in her window. She was watching, I could feel it, but I was done pretending. Room 51, that's where I'd find the answers. I moved slow, letting the shadows hug me, sticking to walls and service corridors I'd memorized over the last few nights. The search didn't take long. The door finally appeared. No label, nothing fancy, just a steel slab at the end of the hallway, scuffed and streaked with grime. My gut twisted. This had to be it. The coupler fit into the port with a satisfying click. Normally it took some fiddling, some coaxing, a little luck to get a door to yield. Not this time. The green light flared, and the door began to rise. The sound of metal teeth grinding made the hair on my arm stand on end. A rush of stale, cold air hit my face, carrying the smell of chemicals, metal, something sharp and coppery. I covered my nose. I stepped forward, peering into the corridor beyond. Lights flickered on in a slow chain reaction, revealing reinforced walls and thick frosted glass panels. At the far end was another door. The door had a faded label, lab. Just one word, sterile, unassuming. I pushed it open and was hit with a wall of smell, chemicals, copper, decay, a stench that made my stomach twist and my eyes water. What the hell? The room was a nightmare, tables lined with body parts, neatly arranged like some grotesque display. Heads floated in bubbling jars, wires trailing from them to unknown machines. I stumbled over trays stacked with bloody, crude bins, some partially open, revealing worse. Things like ears, fingers, and parts, I don't even know what they are. Body bags, stitched and labeled, leaning against the walls like trophies. My breath hitched. Every instinct screamed to turn back, to run, but my feet moved anyway, drawn toward the center of the room. There, strapped to a table, a man, dead, skin pale and clammy, ribbed thin from starvation or worse. His face was hollow, empty sockets where eyes had been crudely removed, the edges raw and bloody. I stepped closer, disgust and fascination twisting together. Next to him, a clipboard rested on the table. I snatched it up. Dr. Lenny Corver, the name from the terminal. My stomach dropped. This was him, somehow reduced to this. The man moved. My head snapped up. I hadn't realized he was still alive. Panic hit. My hands knocked over a shelf, crates tumbling with a clatter that echoed like gunfire in the cavernous lab. That was it. I'd seen enough. I ran out of the lab as fast as I could. I didn't stop. Tables and shelves blurred past, the smell sticking to my lungs, the grotesque shapes taunting me. My mind screamed for the overseer. I wanted to kill her, tear her apart for what she'd done, but all that vanished. I only wanted out. By the time I reached the vault door, my legs felt heavy, uncooperative. My vision doubled, muscles trembling. I gripped the console, swiping my Pip-Boy cord into the port. The protective cover popped open and I punched the button. Nothing. I tried again. Still nothing. I sank to my knees, the world tilting. Red and green lights dancing across my blurred vision. The smell of the lab, the horror of the corpses, the empty, blind face of Corver, it burned behind my eyes. I couldn't think. I couldn't fight. The console flickered once, then dimmed out again. My arm went numb. The cord slipped from my fingers. I tried to push myself up, but my legs didn't answer, just trembled uselessly under me. I remembered the drink I had earlier, the one from the bar at the pool, sweet but funny tasting. My stomach churned now, a slow heat crawling through my veins. Stupid, I realized. I should have known better. She knew. She knew the whole time. I slowly reached my arm up. I tried tapping the button again.
It won't work. I made sure of that.
Her voice was calm and chillingly cold.
You've been a very bad boy, haven't you?
I turned my head, slow, dizzy. The overseer stood over by the doorway, hands clasped behind her back. Posture perfect and a smile on her face. I tried to speak, but my tongue was thick, heavy. My vision smeared her shape into 2, then 4. She walked forward, one measured step at a time, heels tapping like a clock winding down.
Right now you are starting to lose all motor functions.
My muscles burned, then stopped listening. My knees gave out and I hit the floor, seeing double. She went on about it, how the dizziness would pass into fatigue, then paralysis, then total shutdown. Each word fell like a diagnosis, steady, rehearsed, almost proud. I couldn't move. I couldn't even look away. She'd planned this. I tried to crawl toward the console again, but I couldn't move at all. My Pip-Boy's light blinked faintly, useless. She crouched beside me. The scent of antiseptic and coffee drifted from her. Her shadow fell over my hands as she leaned in close.
It's all right. You'll still be useful.
The last thing I saw before the darkness took me was her face, calm, clinical, and with a haunting smile. Then everything went black. When I woke, the world was too bright. My head throbbed, every nerve screaming, but my body didn't respond. Arms and legs heavy as lead, pinned beneath straps I hadn't noticed. My chest rose and fell, shallow and fast. Panic clawed at me. I tried to move my hands, shift, push, anything. Nothing. Then I realized, my eyes, they wouldn't close. Something clamped them open, metal and leather biting into skin, forcing my vision into stark, unrelenting light. The edges of the lab blurred and swam, the fluorescent lights above cutting through every corner, every surface, exposing everything. The stench hit me next. Antiseptic, chemicals, burnt metal, thick, clinging to my nostrils, making my stomach twist. Shapes shifted at the edges of my vision. Jars, tables, machines, wires snaking across the floor. Instruments gleamed like teeth, and her, the overseer, moving with deliberate grace, calm as though she were tending a garden, eyes cold, calculating, fixed on me.
Dr. Corver needs new eyes.
She leaned over.
Oh, look at that. Perfect match. Yours will do just fine.
I wanted to scream. My lips trembled. I tried to struggle. My fingers twitched uselessly, every muscle locked in rebellion. I was trapped, a prisoner in my own body, a spectator to my own terror. Then it appeared. The machine, massive, angular, whirring with a life of its own. Mechanical arms extended, clamps and lenses adjusting, with a sound like metal breathing. Sensors and probes hummed, lights blinking in precise rhythm. It hovered over my face, the cold edge of inevitability aimed directly at my eyes. I could see every detail, tubes feeding fluids, a syringe poised like a fang, clamps ready to pierce. My vision darted across blinking monitors, screens with readings I didn't understand. And then I saw something moving behind her, a shape in the dim light, floating steady, polished clean. The same handy I'd gutted for its access key back online, and humming like nothing had happened. The overseer's pet, my executioner's assistant. I tried to curse, to scream, but nothing came out. As the machine leaned closer, the blue glow of its eye, steady and unfeeling. Corver was next to me, strapped to a chair. My stomach knotted, my lungs burned, my mind screamed at me to move, to run, to do anything. But my body refused. All I could do was watch as the machine lowered, lights reflecting off the polished metal, whirring closer, closer, a nightmare made real. Every instinct told me to shut my eyes, to brace, to fight. I couldn't. This was it. No escape. Hell had a beginning, and it was staring me right in the face.
Thank you for choosing Vault 66. Now just relax, and we'll get started.
No!
Darkness falls, and the story sleeps, for now. But don't stray far. Join us next time for a new traveler, and a new tale carried on the wind. Coming up this season on Ash Rats, Stories from the Wasteland. Every survivor has a tale. Every wanderer carries a past. And every episode reveals another life carved from the ruins. Eddie, the detective, a missing heirloom, a family in danger, a private eye who never stops digging until the job is done. Evelyn, the assassin, a hired gun who only eliminates the worst of the worst, is forced to choose between a contract and her conscience. Henry, the outlander, a reclusive hermit, rescues a wounded stranger and discovers the real truth of his identity. Darren, the Opportunist, a greedy wanderer searches for a legendary vault that winds up being far more than anything he imagined. Marcus, the soldier, an elite Brotherhood recovery team on a mission to find lost tech, uncovers something far more terrifying. Veronica, the scavenger, a gentle forager who gathers the stories the dead left behind, discovers a new companion and a journey she never expected. Grimjaw, the raider, a ruthless clan chief and his men become the hunted by something relentless and out for blood. Ollie the robot, a small and hopeful helper and his owner, discover that in the wasteland, even tragedy can bring new beginnings. Clint the ghoul, a silver-tongued wanderer with a taste for Nuka-Cola and dusty old novels, sets out to find the motherlode of pre-war books. Noah, the survivor, a man from the old world, lost in time, awakens only to find the ruins of a past he doesn't remember. Dark mysteries, violent clashes, heartfelt journeys, twisted secrets, hope where you'd least expect it. Vault 440 presents 10 different lives, 10 different stories, all born out of the ashes. There are a million stories in the wasteland. These are some of them.